Coming up on Aging Matters, the economics of aging.
When I thought about retirement, I didn't ever think I'd be rich, but I thought I would be comfortable. And now, I'm not sure.
For Americans ages 55 to 64, the median retirement account holds $111,000.
I don't care what you do and what you save, but if it's just a nickel, save a nickel. If it's a dime, save a dime. My father would say, the dime you save today will save you tomorrow.
Roughly a third of Americans will rely on Social Security as their only source of income in retirement.
Social Security was never meant to be anything more than a base. So the idea that we're going to have a whole lot of people ending up relying only on Social Security is a very distressing thought. People will be worried about money all the time.
Almost 70% of people turning age 65 will need long-term care at some point in their lives.
The estimations are on nursing home care, upwards of $80,000 a year. Long-term services and supports, well over $30,000 to $40,000 a year right now.
A great majority of people my age are in denial. Because at the moment your body feels pretty good, you think you can keep on going, and you don't think about how I'm going to take care of myself.
Major funding for NPT Report's Aging Matters is provided by Cigna Health Spring, lead sponsor of NPT Report's Aging Matters. The West End Home Foundation, support in the care of seniors through many organizations in Middle Tennessee. The HCA Foundation on behalf of TriStar Health. The Jeanette Travis Foundation, dedicated to improving the health and well-being of the Middle Tennessee community. And by members of NPT. Thank you.
The average person turning 65 this year will live to be 85 years old. They'll retire at age 62. What will retirement and aging look like for the average American? Have we saved and planned enough so that our finances will last as long as we do? In this edition of Aging Matters, we'll examine the costs and financial impact of aging and hear from people navigating financial decisions now. It's not all doom and gloom. As we're living longer, we are also aging with fewer health problems and less disability. There are challenges, however. The long-term services and supports that many of us will need later in life are becoming more expensive every year, threatening family and national budgets. Will we be able to afford the quality of life we want? The future's always uncertain, but what is important is that we take time to look ahead, discuss, and prepare for the economics of aging. Join us.
When I envisioned my own retirement, I don't know that I thought about traveling a lot or owning a big home. I didn't ever think I'd be rich, but I thought I would be comfortable.
For Diane Baker and millions of Americans, retirement looks a whole lot like going to work. Even though she can and does draw Social Security and has years of savings in retirement plans, Baker still works full-time.
I am 68, but I've chosen to keep working. At this moment, I'm not feeling very good about my financial future. That's one of the reasons even though I'd planned to continue working as long as I can, now I definitely need to work as long as I can.
Baker continues to work for two main reasons. She isn't confident that her retirement savings will last as long as she lives, and like many baby boomers, her financial plan is being unraveled not by her own care, but by the long-term care of a parent.
Hey, Mom, how are you today?
Baker's 89-year-old mother lives in Michigan, has Alzheimer's, and doesn't want to leave the family home.
We have, for the last 8 years, been paying for excellent care, but we've still been paying for it. My parents were not without savings, but we went through that, 2 or 3 years ago. So since then, I've been taking money out of my retirement fund, my 403B, to help pay for Mom's expenses. And to be honest, it makes me kind of sad because I feel like I've kind of jeopardized my financial future to do this. But at the same time, I really didn't have a lot of choice.
Taking care of dependents is a common reason that baby boomers delay retirement. A third of boomers are in the sandwich generation, caught between caring for older relatives and rearing children.
The fact that I have younger children impacts my decision. We still have a teenager and one in middle school that have yet to be educated, have yet to marry, and have yet to experience a lot of life. So we don't know how much that's going to require us to participate financially, but certainly that factors in.
Half of American households may be unable to maintain their standard of living in retirement, according to the National Retirement Risk Index. Some experts flat out say that to have a financially secure retirement in the 21st century means working longer, saving more, and passing fewer assets on to heirs.
People are living longer, well past 80 and 90 and into 100. So one fear is that we will outlive our resources. Do we have enough money to support us until we die? And I think that question comes in every individual's mind, whether you're wealthy or whether you're not.
Inhale and exhale, my lovelies. Inhale and exhale. Wonderful. Again.
Given our current longevity, it's not unusual for somebody to have 30 years in retirement. You may well end up being in retirement as long as you were in the work world. And so are we preparing for the long lifespan of the future after we work?
The average person turning 65 today can expect to live to be about 85. 1 in 5 will live to be 90. 1 in 10 will live to be 95. So how much do you have to save? And how long do you have to work to fund 30 years in retirement?
7, 8.
I worked from the time I was 14 years old until I was married, and then after the children, I went back to work again. And I worked until I was 70-some years old.
3.
Now in her 90s, Dorothy Busick has always paid close attention to her finances and savings for retirement.
Each time I got a statement, I'd mark down how much interest we made and where we were and so on. And then at the end of the year, I would do a recap so that how much have we earned, how much have we spent, and where is the money going and so on.
Busick has built a comfortable nest egg. But even those who have actively managed their savings, hoping for financial security as they age, might fall short.
We're on the brink of a crisis. When we look at working Americans today and look at how much money they're going to have in retirement, they're going to fall short. Their needs are going to exceed their resources. There are lots of reasons that we're at the point we are. We're living longer. But we haven't really extended our retirement age. We have rising and high healthcare costs. We are in a period where our retirement needs are increasing. At the same time the needs are increasing, the resources are decreasing.
The resources for retirement income that exist today are different from those for retirees a generation ago. Pensions that once guaranteed monthly income for life are being replaced by the 401k. A retirement plan where the risk and responsibilities of investing lie with the employees rather than employers.
As we get to groups of people who are going to retire solely on these individual accounts, 401k plans, we're going to find that their balances are grossly inadequate to maintain their standard of living.
What do 401k balances look like for Americans approaching retirement? What about their financial well-being overall? One way to find out is to look at the Federal Reserve's Survey of Consumer Finances. For American households aged 55 to 64 with a retirement plan, retirement investments hold a median amount of $111,000. For Americans 55 to 64, The median household income is $55,100 a year. The average credit card debt is $3,000, and the net worth is $165,900. So what does that mean once the average American retires?
We can see it only lasts for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 years before they've gone through what was originally $111,000.
Kay Quinn is a certified financial planner. When faced with the financial outlook for the average Americans in a household approaching retirement, let's call them John and Mary Smith, she sees a few options.
One option is working longer. Another option is reducing expenses, what's necessary, what's not. And then all of our clients want to know what their Social Security benefits going to be and what are their options on when to receive it and maximize it.
The earliest someone can claim a Social Security benefit is at age 62, but those benefits are lower than they would be if drawn later. The monthly Social Security benefit continues to grow by 8% each year that a person delays drawing it until age 70. No matter what age you choose to claim Social Security, that benefit amount is locked for the rest of your life.
When you delay receiving Social Security benefit till 70, that is a wonderful way to maximize your income. If you can use your earned income to meet most of your expenses, then you're waiting for that lump sum that you've accumulated, that $111,000, to continue to grow, to then you get an increase on your Social Security benefit, and you have less years that you have to fund.
What do Quinn's recommendations mean for the average American household that runs out of retirement money sooner than expected?
By 3 changes: working 4 years longer, taking Social Security at age 70, and downsizing to a smaller home. They've added on about 10 years of funding of their retirement.
From this point, those in this household will have Social Security benefits as their only income, like 1 in 3 Americans.
Social Security was never meant to be anything more than a base on which people built for secure retirement. So the idea that we're going to have a whole lot of people ending up relying only on Social Security is a very distressing thought. So if you're living just on Social Security, you probably have enough to buy food, and in some parts of the country cover your rent. But if anything goes wrong, you just don't have any flexibility at all. You're absolutely strapped.
But things can go wrong, especially if you live more than 9 decades.
You never know from one day to the next what's going to happen. How do you compensate after hopefully you've done the right things, that you have these catastrophes that happen?
For Busick, the unknowns that have cut into her retirement fund are not health or family struggles. They were 2 recessions on her investments and Nashville's historic flood in May 2010.
It is the worst flooding the state has ever seen.
I wondered what I was going to do. All of a sudden, I have a house that you have to completely rebuild the entire inside. And then I had to get a car because we lost the car in the flood. I sat down after the initial shock and I got all my papers together to determine how long my funds will last.
Short term, I know I can handle it. I mean, I keep enough in my checking account. If I had to have tests or something done, I can pay for it. But long term
frightens Medora Chaffin, mainly because she had a late start funding her retirement. She went to work full-time at age 50. Now Chaffin is 80, and few people can work full-time indefinitely as they age.
Ranger, let's find us a stick. It seems like each 5 years you kind of go down. When I was 65, I thought I could work all day. And then when I reached 70, I worked good half a day. Here's this one. Your body begins to wear and tear. And tomorrow we just don't know what it's going to be. I guess that's why I work out so diligently, trying to keep it going. That's it. Come on.
So we have a view of aging that our goal is being as vital and functional as possible, and that our life will be kind of like a cliff, that we will be cruising along doing everything we do now until 92 and then we'll die in our sleep. And that rarely happens. Those that have lived long enough to be 75 now typically will have the burden of chronic conditions, those kinds of things that don't go away. And with the chronic conditions often come functional limitations. Can I button my shirts? Can I reach up and take items out of a cupboard? Can I cook meals? Can I bathe myself? Those kinds of things, called functional limitations, actually tend to predict the need for long-term supports and services even more than the diseases themselves.
Don't let the ball hit the floor!
Long-term services and supports include just about any assistance with a person's daily needs that is not medical care.
He still had to have therapy every day. He had to learn how to count again. He had to learn how to use his hands. And so it was a whole year before he could really be alone again.
At 67, Snooky Johnson can no longer take care of himself. After having multiple strokes, he attends adult daycare, then goes home in the evenings to be with his wife, Roxy, who still works full-time.
He has been in and out of the nursing home 3 times in the past 4 years. So each time he has come out, I've had to pay somebody to stay with him. All right.
Roxy has been managing her husband's care for more than 15 years, since he had his first stroke at age 50. That ended Snooky's career as a computer professional and replaced his salary with disability payments.
During that time, I was scared, really trying to figure out how we're going to make it with that much less money.
There's good reason to fear the cost of long-term care services. They are expensive, not covered by health insurance or Medicare, and the greatest risk to financial security as we age. In Tennessee, the average cost is $3,400 per month for a room in an assisted living facility, $6,000 a month in a nursing home. Yet fewer than 10% of Americans are saving and planning specifically for long-term care, according to the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation.
Most Americans don't understand that Medicare does not cover the cost of in-home long-term services and supports beyond a very, very limited home health benefit immediately following a hospitalization. Most individuals don't understand that their private health insurance does not include long-term services and supports. Their only option is to spend down their assets and their resources in order to qualify for Medicaid. That means impoverishing yourself. It means making decisions about your quality of life in terms of your personal resources in order to access care that you need. Over the long haul, I hope that there are opportunities for us to change that dynamic.
State Medicaid programs are shouldering the burden of long-term care expenses, increasing at an average of 7% a year. States now spend more on Medicaid than on K-12 education. But for those who need long-term care, government-funded programs can mean families of long-term care recipients don't have to go bankrupt.
It is very important. It's like a lifesaver. It really is. So I called them and I found out once we sent in all of the paperwork that was needed, that we would be able to have a sitter during the day if we needed it, or he could go to an adult day center if necessary. And then if I needed to travel for my job or if I needed a break, I could have so many hours a year where they would come and stay with him.
But with projected growth in long-term care expenses, state-funded programs are not sustainable, and the current model offers little for those who do not meet the strict eligibility guidelines.
Because individuals are having to figure this out and families are having to figure this out on their own, if they don't want to have to do it in crisis mode and they want to think proactively about planning and thinking, it's really sitting down with somebody and talking about your dreams and your functional limitations and what is it that's going to be available to you both immediately in terms of your needs, but then on a forward-thinking basis, how are you going to support those aspirations?
Those are important family conversations. Most people don't like talking about long-term care. We don't like talking about getting old. We don't like talking about planning for financial needs, but that's an important place to start.
Morris Johnson took that approach a few years ago after his dad died. Johnson drew on his skills in business and sales to come up with a plan for his mother.
I sat down with her and I said, well, we got to do kind of the old Ben Franklin thing. We've got to sit down and see where your assets are and where your liabilities are. That is, how much money you got coming in, how much money you got going out, and from the two, make a decision as to what you could afford and how we can make that work economically, and whether or not you can sustain that lifestyle or expenditure through the 10 or 15 or more years that someone could be living. With that, we had a good number, and then from there, we could start shopping. Basically, go shopping. Mom, let's go shopping. We got to shop for you a place to live.
Johnson's mother chose to move to a retirement community in Nashville that will accommodate her care needs as she ages and is affordable for now.
That's one of the things you got to do is you got to understand it's dynamic. It never stays the same, and you've got to make changes along the way.
When it comes to the economics of aging, flexibility and earnest communication are almost as important as saving and investing.
Families have to begin to plan together, not as 15 different separate units, but as one unit of 15 people, if you will. And so if we can begin to plan together, then we can maybe work on reducing some of the anxiety that maybe individual members of our family might have. But I think we have to work together. Or, as Dr. King said, we could perish together as fools.
I look to my future and I think, what am I going to do? That's one of the reasons I'm keep working. And the other thing, about 10 years ago, I bought a condo, and I've always said that condo is my assisted living money. When it comes time for me to go to assisted living, I will sell my condo and use the money I make from that to pay for my assisted living.
Both my girls, I let them have information in regards to my finances. And I've done this ever since my husband has been gone. Because I think that the children need to know in case something happens.
It's important that people understand their own finances. Many people literally don't know what's coming in and what's going out. That may sound overly simple, but it's true. And so the first thing we suggest folks do is just write down your income and write down your outgo and look at the difference. And that's the beginning of helping you figure out what you're going to need for the rest of your life.
You can't just lecture Americans and say, you save more, save more, save more, because they can't. People are under a lot of financial pressure. We need to make changes now. We need to fix Social Security so that is there for sure. We need to make sure people are saving more through automatic savings mechanisms in 401k plans. We need to do something about the fact that half of the workforce in the private sector doesn't even have a 401k plan to start with.
Most families are not well prepared to take on an additional cost if they are going to have to purchase long-term services and supports. It's a difficult challenge. We have to grapple with it as a public policy issue that has yet to be addressed. What's that going to look like?
We all want to be secure financially as we age. And with more of us living longer, traditional ways to cover the cost of aging might fall short. The answer is to rethink retirement and how we pay the costs of aging, both as individuals and as a society. As individuals, we can consider when to start using savings and retirement benefits and make choices that promote good health and economic flexibility for as many years as possible. To learn more about Aging Matters, visit our website at wnpt.org/agingmatters.
Major funding for NPT Report's Aging Matters is provided by Cigna Health Spring, lead sponsor of NPT Report's Aging Matters. The West End Home Foundation, support in the care of seniors through many organizations in Middle Tennessee. The HCA Foundation on behalf of TriStar Health. The Jeanette Travis Foundation, dedicated to improving the health and well-being of the Middle Tennessee community. And by members of NPT. Thank you.